Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket nines. This is a 10NL game, full ring, and this is only my second hand at the table. So I'm in small blind with pocket nines, and we've got a hijack that opens to 2.5, and it folds around to me. So we don't know anything about hijack. So I'm just going to give him a range that looks something like this. Decent, 2.5, not too large, could be standard. Maybe hits a wider range, but it's an unknown. I will give him ace 10 in there, and ace 9 suited. Some players have it, some players don't. So then it folds to me, and versus mid position, this is my 3-better call range. So I could 3-bet him, I could call. This time I decided to call. I think playing it again, I'd probably raise. 3-bet early at the table, kind of set the standard. Maybe. If he folds, he folds. But calling here is setting us up for maybe flopping a big hand and then getting paid, a little bit hidden. But at the same time, when we call, I think players think, small to mid pocket pairs, suited connectors, suited aces, those types of hands. So I just call, and the flop comes 9-7-6, which isn't too bad for us. I don't think we necessarily need to be hugely afraid of the 8. Yeah, 8s could be out there, but if we think about his range, I'm putting him on pretty tight range. The only hands for the 8 are 9-8 suited, 8-7 suited, and pocket 8s. So the straight's going to be a really small percentage here. Or I should say the straight draw is going to be a really small percentage here of his total range. So we called the raise. I think we're going to be checking basically 100% of our hand. I think if he bets, we could be justified in raising it. What kind of hands would call, though? I think with the check raise, let's kind of get this out. If we check raise, sets probably call, 2-pair probably call. I don't know if an overpair calls. I think the flush draw, open ender, straight draws. I think if he bets, we're looking at him calling something like this. Obviously, if we think he's going to be calling with an overpair, that's great. He could be calling with a 10, which gives him the gut shot. 7, yeah, the 1-card gut shot. He could be calling the pocket 10s. And then you have to think about, well, what other hands would I be check raising? So if I check raised, we're looking at sets as check raises. Probably the 10s too as a check raise. If we have 10s, we block a lot of other hands. Now I take that back, not 10s. For value, it's a set. And then for our semi-bluff, it would be 8s probably. And you can see I've got a lot more 8s than I have sets. Basically in my range. If I added 6s and 7s, that might be a little different. But I think here we're just going to probably just check call, especially since we have flip trips. So I check, and then he checks behind, and that's, so I've got my entire range. Once he checks, I don't think he has any of those, including the top pair. Maybe he has pocket pair less than the top card, and he doesn't want to. The 8s, he doesn't want to bet and get blown off his hand. If he does that, then I think the flushes are also there, but I'm going to just take those out. I don't think so. I think most people with the 8s, they're going to be betting this. Maybe not. I mean, they'll probably have the gut shots, but I think overall it's going to be a weak range, and I think at that point that doesn't look good in terms of me getting paid any money. So I've got 100% of my range. He has a really weak range. A 4 spade comes out. That's actually pretty bad. That's a pretty bad. Spades gets there. It kind of gives more straight draws out. You know, there are more straight draws out there. It's just we're not going to get paid at all. So then the question is, what do we do? Do we bet? Do we lead at all? I think it would be hard if we bet and get raised. It would be hard for us to call. So if we had the flush, I mean, we've got the cards already. So I think this is just kind of checking. I think we're going to go for some value in the river. I think that's about it. So villain 8 calls, and yeah, I just think he's got nothing strong. I think it's all of these. I don't even think he's going to be betting any of his draws at this point. Definitely, I mean, maybe he bets the nut flush, but I'm going to take that out. Take the nut flush and probably the second nut out as well. The queens, no one showed anything. This is looking to be just a very weak hand. And then the 5, and again, that just flush gets there, straight gets there, everything gets there. We bet he's only gonna call if he can beat us. We're gonna check here with our entire range again. We're the runout's just been bad. Could villain have a set? Yeah, he could have 5s. Yeah, and I think here, if he does have a 5, he might bet, but he probably doesn't. So we would still win. So we check, he checks behind. I mean, this is just bad. Horrible runouts. We got 9s. He shows queen jack. So yeah, even with the queens, we thought maybe he would bet. He didn't. I don't know if there's another way to play this hand. It's just not very good for us. So we're gonna take this. Take some notes. So check, check, check in position on a 9 of spades, 7 of spades, 6 of diamonds. And we got 4 spades, 5 of diamonds. Just so we have some notes on there. So just out of curiosity, since this is just kind of a pretty basic hand, I'm going to try to run this through GTO. We're going to go back to here, go back to the flop, figure out where we're at here, and see what GTO suggests, or how GTO suggests we should be playing. Alright, so I am not surprised. Not surprised one bit that GTO suggests we have 100% check. I think villain has, the imposition player has loads of hands that beat us. He's got all the overpairs. We both have trips. So I just feel like at this range, we're checking 100%. Now the question is, do we check raise? So we're going to assume he bets GTO. What kind of hands are we raising? So we are raising trips. We do have a check raise of trips. Looks like we're check raising 9-8, so open ender with a backdoor diamond draw. Okay. Open ender with a backdoor diamond draw. Ace 9 with a backdoor diamonds. Okay, so it doesn't look like we're actually check raising our flush draw as much. Not ace king. It looks like we're doing like queen jack, so maybe we've got like a backdoor straight draw. Ace 10, gut shot. Okay, so we were kind of along the same lines. Check raising. Villain checks. And what was that? That turn card. Turn card was a 4. So let's get the 4. Now, when do we bet? All right, so now this is going to be the next step. So I think what we're going to do, so we've got this turn there. We have to modify 7, 5. All right, so we have to modify our ranges. So I think I still have 100% of my range, but I said villain here is looking something like this. So let's go ahead and update his range to something like that, which is good. We are gonna rebuild the tree, and I'm gonna use this, and then for the turn, we're gonna make it as we can bet 33%. So pot was 6, so we could bet 2 big blinds. We could bet 3 big blinds. I think we could bet 4 big blinds at 66, and then we'll do 100% pot. We're gonna build this tree, and then what we're gonna do is edit this tree too, because what we want to do. Listen. Yeah, import tree. We want to edit the tree, so we don't want this. We don't want the bet. We want the check, and then we want him to check 2. All right, and then we're going to accept the changes, confirm. So now we've got our tree where we're going to be going check, check, and then our decisions on the turn. So we're going to run our solver, and we'll come back when it's done. All right, solver's done. Let's get to our turn. So that turn was 4 of spades, right? Oops. I think so. Yeah, 4 spades. All right, so now we've got 4 spades. And now it's still saying check. I wonder what it's looking at. Oh no. Well, I messed this up. So I'm out of position, not the villain. So we messed that up. Let's fix this. We're gonna put it here. Done. I think this will be better. And we do have to go back and check that pre-flop, but I'm pretty certain our pre-flop is going to be build new tree, and then we have to edit the tree. We're going to import tree, and we're going to take out the bet, and we're going to take out that bet. Okay, accept changes. Now let's rerun the solver and check the turn. All right, so I should have caught that, because I mean, when we think about my range, ace 10, yeah, we have ace 10, but we don't have king 10 or queen 10 in our range, so that was all a mistake. So, but anyways, let's go to the turn. So it goes check, 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 or check, check on the flop and the turn, and then GTO says we bet our entire range here. Villain's range is weak, and I don't even think it's going for value at this point. I think we've got value hands, and it's balancing all of the other unpaired hands that we have that don't really have anything, don't really have any more draws. I think this is just GTO suggesting I made the mistake here. So if I bet, then villain's should be folding all of those hands. He's probably folding the queen jack, probably calling actually the flush. So he's gonna. I bet he incorrectly calls with that queen of spades. So you've got the third flush draw. So like it says call with ace queen and king queen, but don't call with queen jack. I bet he's gonna incorrectly call with those. Same thing, incorrectly call with king jack. So if we bet and he calls, and then we get that 5 of diamonds on the turn, then it looks like we're still betting a lot of our ranges. Looks like ace 10, king queen, king jack. I wonder why we're doing those. So I understand the 8s, the 9s is trips, 10s have blocker value. All right, so we didn't get to the river, but once we bet, then it looks like we're betting most of the time. Um, and really, Villain could only call as a bluff catch. He does have some trip fives, but that's about the only thing that he could do. So if we bet 9 at this point, so we made our decision. We bet 6, he calls. That's 12, 18. So we're betting half pot here. And we could probably adjust it and say, okay, if that's what if he's playing, we could add a range of bets that we would bet. And we'd really challenge him because we do have that 8. We do have the spades, and he's going to really be put to the test. Do I have that straight? Do I have the flush or not? So he's really just bluff catching just to keep me honest, because I do have some bluffs in my range. But yeah, it looks like this for the GTO, we missed it. So I'm going to go back and let's change this. So we're going to rebuild the tree here. And then we're going to run our solver just for that flop to confirm that it should be a check. All right, so this is different. I wasn't expecting it. So our decision versus, oops, messed up. That is his range. We got to update that range. All right, so now we got it. Man, bunch of screw ups. Haven't used GTO on these for a while. Anyways, we've got to check 30% of the time. It looks like GTO is favoring smaller bet size. So either the 1/3 or half size pot. And really it's going for the 1/3, third size pot, bet size. So it just looks like overall we should be leading in quite a lot. Like overall we should be betting. Yeah, overall we should be betting. We'll do that. So nothing for there. Bet 3. Small percent for all of our range. More for all of our range. And then we do have some checks kind of as balance. So I think 50% of the time, I'm going to say that I think we could check with our entire range. Other times we could bet. So if we check and he bets, what are we raising again? We're raising our 8s if we have the ace of diamonds. That's interesting. Our 9s, they get checked. 9, 10 with diamonds. So we have some backdoor draws, and then 10s with the 10 of spades and Jack 10 of spades, Jack 10 of diamonds. Okay, so it's something that's in the middle. I'm going to go back to here to bet because it looks like we're betting basically our 9s almost 100% of the time. And it does look like we should be betting most of these 100% of the time. Definitely favoring the bets. And then our unpaired cards kind of have somewhat of the checks. So this is kind of advanced play. This is against GTO players. I don't know if we can necessarily use it, but it's kind of looking like, based on this, we could have a donk range, which I don't really have that. So might need to start considering adding one of these, and it looks like this is going to be a pretty solid donk range here. So if I bet, what is Villain calling with? He's calling to bluff catch, whereas if I checked, he's checking a lot of those behind. He is betting those, but he's checking a lot of those behind. So then if the 4 of spades comes out and we checked, now we're leading out most of the time with all of our hands except some of our junks. So you can see ace jacks that has like no spades. We blocked diamonds, or we had those diamonds hands. I bet those diamonds are there as just kind of some blockers. So then we bet, and Villain's gonna have to fold all of those hands that he would have. He was betting as basically bluff c bet. He does get called, so if he calls then, and then the 5 of diamonds hits, then we're continuing with the 9s that we have. So, yeah. Okay, so GTO, back to saying GTO is kind of suggesting that I think our flop check was okay, but it seemed like we should be betting then on the turn and then probably firing again on the river with our 9s. And we're also going to be doing that with some of our 8s that are blockers. Some of the time we're going to be beat, but I think we're relying on the fact the villain might be calling with a single spade, the nut and the second nut draw. And I think that works well because I think players will mistakenly call with that third nut, with that queen of spades, with all of the queen of spades, when he should only be calling with those with like the ace or the king kicker. So yeah, overall, how did I play the hand? I thought I played it okay, but and kind of had reasoning that where I thought villain just wasn't. I mean, I had the read. He's not very strong at all, but GTO is suggesting that maybe we need to be a little bit more aggressive here, especially against better players. Yeah, I'm going to probably need to consider leading out. This is a flop that should hit me harder than it should hit villain 8 in theory. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.